So yesterday, some movie news dropped on April 1st, and it was so shocking and weird, I didn't even want to retweet this announcement until April 2nd, just in case it was some sort of elaborate April Fool's prank that all the trades were playing on us. But we are getting a follow-up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that is being written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by David Fincher. This is not an April Fool's joke. It's really happening, and this Quentin Tarantino script follow-up will be a Netflix movie. Legitimately, I woke up, first thing I did, double-checked to make sure this is real. It's actually happening, and it is, in fact, really happening. So, first off, join me down below in the comment section. What do you think about there being a follow-up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? In particular, get the context of what's in the article and what the movie is and what it is not. What do you think about David Fincher taking over? What does this mean for the future of Quentin Tarantino's career? All that fun stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. So, to unpack all of the information here and what it all means, essentially the backstory on all of this is that Quentin Tarantino has said for a number of years now he's only going to do 10 movies. And he said, announced several years back, he was going to do this movie called The Movie Critic. And he'd spent a long time writing it. And about a year ago, he said, I'm scrapping it. This isn't going to be my last movie. It's not going to happen. And in that movie, The Movie Critic, Brad Pitt's character appeared in it. Booth's character, Cliff Booth, was in that movie, The Movie Critic. So it was like kind of, tangentially connected to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Well, essentially that idea of the continuing adventures of Cliff, that's what stuck in Quentin Tarantino's head, and he kept kind of fiddling with that. He kept working on that idea and created this whole story that he was like, I don't think I want to direct this. I don't think I want this to be my last movie. But Brad Pitt read that script and he went, I really like this. So this is not The Movie Critic, but it's what The Movie Critic evolved into. The thing that in The Movie Critic, Tarantino was actually drawn towards, continuing to talk about this character for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he developed that. It's not The Movie Critic, but it's from The Movie Critic. And Pitt read it, said, I like this. What if I went out and I brought a director to you? What would you say to that? And essentially, Quentin Tarantino said, if you get the right guy, I'm open to it. Let's see what happens. So Brad Pitt goes out and has a guy that he's worked with a number of times with nice success. David Fincher. So Brad Pitt won his Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He has his reasons he wants to play this character again, has a script that he's excited about that Quentin Tarantino wrote, and he goes to the guy that he did Seven and Fight Club with and more. And Fincher's like, yeah, I think I'll do that. I'm down. I'll do that. So he comes back and he brings in, of all people, David Fincher to Quentin Tarantino. Like, what about this guy right here? What do you think about David Fincher? And Tarantino's like, all right, yeah, all right. If you got David Fincher, we can do this. If you recall back on my channel, we did a 31 on 31 with the Autop stream, 31 movies ranked of the big three directors, and it was Christopher Nolan, Tarantino, and David Fincher. And so it's like two of the guys in that 31 on 31, that's who he passes it off to. And Netflix is going to make it. Now, a huge thing you got to pause to talk about on this one is that Quentin Tarantino has directed all of his scripts for about the last 30 years. In the 90s, when he was first starting off, he sold several scripts and then he worked with Robert Rodriguez and passed a script over to him. But you had True Romance, Natural Born Killers, And From Dusk Till Dawn, there were 3 big movies that Tarantino wrote the script and then someone else directed it. And in each of those cases, an interesting director got the script. But that hasn't happened in 30 years. So now that Tarantino is like thinking, I only want to direct so many movies, suddenly has a script and he's passing it off to another great director for the first time in 30 years. That's interesting. And then that piece we also got to unpack on here, it's Netflix. David Fincher, for whatever reason, maybe it's creative freedom, maybe he just likes them, he's been working with Netflix for a while now. He did, what was the TV show? Was it Mindhunters? Was that his TV show? And then he did Mank, and then he did The Killer. I wasn't crazy about Mank, but I thought The Killer was really good. And a David Fincher Netflix movie is a David Fincher movie that releases on streaming. It's not a Netflix movie in the traditional sense. So Netflix being attached in this context doesn't make me nervous the way it would in most contexts because it's David Fincher, and David Fincher is almost certainly working with them because they're just giving him gigantic checks to tell the stories that he wants to tell. So the Netflix part on a creative level doesn't concern me. It's interesting because Tarantino is like the champion, not just the champion of theaters, but actual film. And, like he has a theater in Hollywood that only shows movies on film. That's actually where I saw No Country for Old Men for the first time. Was it the New Beverly? I don't recall exactly what it's called, but like his theater, that's where I watched it for the first time. It was very cool. And so the fact that a Tarantino script that's a follow-up in a sense to a Tarantino movie will be a Netflix film in and of itself, that feels like that could be an April Fool's joke in and of itself, but it's real. It's actually happening. I should have paused on this at the beginning of this article, but like literally on the Hollywood Reporter, on their article, they had to say as the subheading, this is not an April Fool's joke. And you get into the article and there's a whole paragraph about how despite the bad timing, this is not an April Fool's joke, which adds to how funny the whole situation is. So a couple other important details to understand the project. It's a follow-up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's not necessarily a sequel to it, both because it's like more of a shared universe kind of situation where characters continue over. That's both conceptually, it's designed to just be a different kind of thing, but also Sony owns the rights to that movie. Tarantino has the rights to the characters. So I don't think they could even call it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2 because it would be too much of a direct sequel to a Sony movie. And this is going to be a Netflix movie. So there's some rights issues involved that kind of complicate what you can and can't call it. And then the other one that's in there, Leonardo DiCaprio almost certainly will be coming back. He's in talks. He'll very likely be in the movie, but he's not signed yet. Brad Pitt, that's his Oscar movie. So he's like the star of it. So he's like, yeah, let's do this. Leonardo DiCaprio, not quite as important for him or whatever, and not the star of the movie this time. So holding out a little bit, almost, but he'll be in it. They just, got to find the right dollar amount to get Leo to be in there. So all that's kind of the information. That's the backstory. That's the details, how it came about. What is it? Where's it being released? What it is not, and that it is real news. It's actually happening. What do I think of this? I mean, quite literally last night, I was just like, is this real? Could this possibly be real? Woke up today having slept on it, pondering it all night long. And the thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the exact thing that makes it not clear how you do a sequel to it is also a little bit of why it's fairly open for you to do a sequel to it. Which is to say, that's basically a hangout movie in Hollywood that happens to crescendo with a fairy tale happy ending for the Manson murders, which is a very strange thing to say. Way to phrase it, but that is what the movie is. I rewatched that finale the other day or about a month back after the Honora win, and that finale is just incredible. It's amazing. But it's a hangout movie in a fairy tale version of Hollywood. And so it's not like there's plot threads. It's not the kind of movie where you go, okay, now what's going to happen next with this adventure? It's not that. So it could be just a standalone piece. But the other side to that is you're just having fun hanging out with these characters in a window of time with a fairy tale version of a real life event. So you just fairy tale on into the 70s, a different time period, same city, some of the same characters, some new characters, and you can do that concept again. Like it works to play that again. So in my mind, like I sat on and went, all right, I don't know what it is. I kind of want to know a little bit more about what Cliff Booth is up to, where we're heading with this. But my level of trust in Fincher and Tarantino is very high. The amount of borrowed trust that they have is extraordinarily high. So if they go, yeah, this is what I was excited about, and then Fincher went, yeah, I'm excited about that too, and Pitt was like, yeah, I'm excited about that. Suddenly I'm interested, very interested. Oh, one more important detail, I missed this. They're looking to shoot this summer. This isn't like, we're not talking about years from now. We're talking about this thing could come out next year. Important detail. Other thing to consider also on kind of the concept here, Tarantino has always dabbled a little bit in connective universes. Not Marvel Cinematic Universe level of connectivity, but he's always dabbled a little bit in stuff kind of overlapping a little bit. And, kind of the unstated Vega brothers from Michael Madsen and John Travolta, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, like there's overlap there. It was subtle overlap, but there was talk and discussion of making a Vega brothers movie that would have taken the subtle overlap and make it overt overlap. Of course, that didn't happen. And just other things, Big Kahuna Burger, and he likes a little bit of that fun. And then just there's some Tarantino theories that all of his movies are set in his own alternate reality, which is just a fun one. So this actually doesn't feel, as much as it feels like, what, a Tarantino sequel? He's never done that before. Kill Bill 1 and 2 was really Kill Bill broken into two pieces. It's not a sequel in the same sense because it was always one story in two parts. This would actually be a follow-up thing, a true follow-up in a way that he hasn't really done. But I don't think it's actually that detached. And he's talked so much about whether Vega Brothers, doing Kill Bill 3 with the daughter grown up. So put it all together, and if this is what he's excited about, I think I can be excited about it too. I can be interested in this if he's interested in it, if Fincher's interested in it, if Pitt's interested in it. Let's play around more. Let's do another hangout movie in the 70s. And the question in my mind is, what is kind of the hook there that kind of pulls it together a little bit, or the thing to it. We did hangout movie that crescendos to Manson murders. I'm sure he's not just copying that same formula of like, now this time we're going to tackle Watergate. I'm just saying a thing from the 70s, but like, I don't know what that would be that it would, but what is kind of the hook that kind of adds that other thing to it? I'm curious, but overall, very excited to check that one out. And the more I sit on it, the more I'm like, I love that this bizarro thing is happening. Something that, when it's movie news that's like, you get a piece of news that's so weird, I literally would not report on it for 12 hours to make sure that it was real, despite all of the major trades announcing it. As soon as something that wild, shocking, bizarre happens, you go, all right, let's see where this kind of heads. Yeah. What do you think about it? Let me know down below in the comment section, and you can check out my Tarantino and Fincher rankings around here.